The corner cafe buzzed with Sunday brunch energy as my sister Diana sipped her $14 oat milk latte, her Cartier bracelet catching the morning light. I sat across from her in my simple white shirt, stirring honey into my tea while she detailed her latest real estate triumph. "You should see my new penthouse," she gushed, scrolling through photos on her phone. "Top floor Central Park views, only $8 million. Steven says it's a steal." Steven, her real estate agent husband, specialized in luxury properties, and condescending smirks. I nodded, checking my own phone as another notification from my property management company lit up the screen. "How's your situation?" Diana gestured vaguely at my outfit. "Still in that tiny apartment on Madison?" "It's comfortable enough," I replied, scanning the quarterly reports from my global real estate portfolio. "Oh, Sophie," she sighed, her voice dripping with practiced concern. "You know, Steven could help you find something more suitable, even with your limited budget." I suppressed a smile, thinking of the documents sitting in my lawyer's office. "I like my building. That old thing. Please." She wrinkled her nose. "The lobby isn't even marble. And that doorman's uniform looks so dated." The dated uniform had actually been designed by a top fashion house, specifically for my properties. The non-marble lobby was restored heritage limestone, worth more than her penthouse. "Can't even afford a decent place?" Diana laughed, waving to another socialite across the cafe. "I keep telling Mom you should have stuck with finance instead of running off to find yourself." My phone buzzed again. The renovation team needed approval for the penthouse's imported Italian tiles. The ones that cost more than Diana's car. Speaking of finding myself, I took a sip of tea. "How's the rent in your building?" "Ugh, don't remind me. They're raising it again next month." Steven's furious. He says the new management company is impossible to reach. I knew. I'd instructed them to dodge his calls after overhearing him brag about manipulating housing prices in emerging neighborhoods. Actually, I checked my watch. A subtle Patek Philippe that cost more than her monthly mortgage. "I've been meaning to talk to you about that." "About what?" "My rent." She laughed. "Please don't tell me you're going to offer financial advice from your little apartment." The cafe's owner caught my eye and nodded respectfully. She knew who really owned the building and the entire block. "Remember when I left finance?" I pulled out my phone. "I didn't exactly stop working with money. I just changed how I worked with it." "What are you talking about?" "That impossible-to-reach management company? Albany Crown Properties." I pulled up the corporate profile. "It's one of my holdings." Diana's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "What?" "I own your building, Diana. Along with about 30 others in the city." I smiled. "Including this one we're sitting in." That's impossible," she stammered. "Those properties are worth billions." "Yes." I showed her the portfolio overview. "That little apartment you mock? It's actually the owner's suite." I kept the simple door to avoid attention. Her coffee cup slipped, shattering on the floor. The cafe staff rushed over immediately. They knew to provide exceptional service to the owner, even if I preferred to remain low-key. "But you live so simply," Diana whispered, her voice weak. "I prefer it that way. Makes it easier to see how my properties are really run." I checked another notification. "By the way, about that rent increase you mentioned, it's actually going up more than you think." The morning sun streamed through the cafe's windows, highlighting the subtle crown molding I'd had restored last year. Outside, a row of buildings stretched down Madison Avenue. All mine, though only a handful of people knew. "The penthouse renovation you mentioned," I continued, pulling up the architectural plans, "is nearly complete. I'm thinking of using it as a corporate entertainment space." Diana's hands trembled as she reached for her phone, presumably to call Steven. "Does Mom know?" "Mom thinks I'm barely making rent," I smiled. "Just like she thinks she got a special deal on her Hamptons house last summer." "The Hamptons house? You mean Albany Crown Properties strikes again." I stood, straightening my simple white shirt that probably cost more than her entire brunch outfit. "Now about that rent increase." Through the window I could see my sister's building, a prestigious address I'd acquired through a shell company while she bragged about living there. The doorman caught my eye and nodded slightly, recognizing the real owner of his workplace. The morning was about to get very interesting. Let me get this straight. Diana's voice quivered as she pulled up her building's management website on her phone. Albany Crown Properties, the company that owns half of Manhattan's luxury buildings, is you. I nodded, pulling out a sleek black portfolio. One of my companies. Would you like to see the others? Her perfectly manicured hands trembled as she flipped through pages of property holdings, international real estate portfolios, and development projects worth billions. Each document bore my signature. Not as some minor player but as the controlling owner. The Martinez building on Fifth, she whispered. Wine. The new luxury complex in Tribeca? Also mine. The plaza renovation project? Why do you think they're using Italian marble? I own the quarry. Diana slumped back in her chair, her designer purse sliding to the floor. No one moved to pick it up. The cafe staff knew better than to interrupt their owners' meetings. But you drive a Toyota, she said weakly. A custom Toyota, I corrected. With bulletproof glass and a hybrid engine I helped develop. The simple exterior keeps attention away. Unlike Steven's showy Maserati that's currently parked in my garage. On cue, my phone displayed the security feed from her building's parking garage. Steven's precious car was being carefully monitored by my security team. About Steven, I continued, pulling up another document. We should discuss his creative accounting with tenant applications. Diana's face went pale. What do you mean? I mean, I know he's been fudging numbers to overcharge renters while pocketing the difference. I showed her the audit reports. Did you really think the impossible-to-reach management company wasn't watching? The cafe owner appeared with fresh tea, my personal blend, imported from a plantation I owned in Sri Lanka. Will there be anything else, Miss Thompson? Thank you, Maria. How's your daughter's college fund coming along? Wonderful, thanks to your scholarship program, she beamed before disappearing. Scholarship program? Diana croaked. I take care of my people, I said simply. Every employee in my buildings has full benefits, educational support and housing assistance. That dated doorman uniform comes with a competitive salary and stock options. Outside, a sleek black car pulled up, my real vehicle, not the Toyota I used for cover. Diana watched as the driver opened the door for a group of international investors I'd been meeting with secretly for months. The renovation team you mentioned, she said slowly, for my building's penthouse, is updating it into my new Manhattan office. I smiled. Though I might keep your rent reasonable if you stop mocking my little apartment. Her phone buzzed. Probably Steven, wondering why his access code to the building's amenity floor suddenly didn't work. That impossible-to-reach management office? I continued. It's actually in my apartment. The one you said wasn't decent enough. Behind that simple door is a command center managing properties across 3 continents. Diana's hands shook as she tried to sip what remained of her coffee. Does anyone know? A select few. The major players in real estate, certain government officials, my core team. I checked another notification. Oh, and now you. The investors outside waved discreetly through the window. Through my cafe's carefully positioned mirrors, I could see my security team seamlessly monitoring the street. That job you said I failed at? I pulled up the Forbes article they were running next month. I didn't fail. I just played a longer game. The family Christmas party, Diana whispered, when you offered to host, will be in my building's ballroom. The one behind that dated lobby. I showed her the architectural plans. The limestone walls? They're embedded with heating elements I patented. The simple chandelier? Designed by artists I sponsor. A group of real estate developers walked past the cafe window, nodding respectfully. They knew who really controlled Manhattan's skyline, even if my sister was just finding out. Your rent increase, I said, pulling up the paperwork, was actually a test. I wanted to see how Steven would handle it. And he failed. Spectacularly. I showed her the evidence of his attempted bribes to my management team. We should discuss his future employment prospects. The morning sun had climbed higher, illuminating the row of buildings I owned along Madison Avenue. Each one held a piece of my carefully constructed empire. An empire built while my family was busy judging my lifestyle choices. Now, I stood, straightening my simple white shirt that cost more than Diana's monthly salary. Shall we discuss your new lease terms? I believe you'll find them educational. The afternoon light streamed through the cafe's designer windows as Diana struggled to process the morning's revelations. Her phone kept buzzing. Stephen, no doubt discovering his key fob access had been downgraded to basic resident status. There's one more thing, I said, sliding a folder across the table. Your steal of a penthouse on Central Park? Diana's hands shook as she opened it. No. Albany Crown Properties just acquired the building last week. I smiled, watching her read the documents. Along with the entire block. That amazing deal Stephen found? He was actually negotiating with my proxy. $8 million, she whispered. We paid $8 million. For a property I now control. I checked my phone as another notification came in. Don't worry, I won't evict you. Though the building's about to undergo some significant changes. Outside, a team of architects was already surveying the street. My plans for the neighborhood would reshape the Manhattan skyline, though only a select few knew the true scope of the project. The doorman who always compliments your shoes? I continued. He has an MBA from Wharton. The maintenance man? PhD in urban development. They're part of my assessment team, evaluating which residents truly deserve their luxury addresses. Diana's perfect makeup couldn't hide her growing pallor. All this time, while you were mocking my simple life, I was building an empire. I pulled up more documents on my tablet. That charity gala you couldn't get tickets to last month? I was the anonymous donor. The exclusive rooftop garden you've been trying to access? I designed it. My phone buzzed again. The renovation team had finished the penthouse office. The same office Diana had unknowingly walked past countless times, assuming it was just another cheap apartment. Stephen's commission from our penthouse purchase, she said suddenly. Did you let him think he'd outsmarted the market? Yes. I showed her the real numbers. That commission is being donated to housing initiatives for the people he helped displace in his previous developments. The cafe had emptied except for us and my security team, disguised as regular patrons. Through the windows I could see more of my properties, each one a piece of a puzzle Diana was only now beginning to understand. Your holiday parties, she whispered. The ones you said you couldn't host because your place was too small. Were actually held in my private event space. I pulled up photos of the stunning venue. That budget catering you mocked? Michelin-starred chefs I sponsor. The amateur pianist plays at Carnegie Hall when he's not managing my music education program. A sleek helicopter passed overhead. Mine, though it bore no identifying marks. Just another piece of my carefully concealed empire. Mom's Bridge Club. Diana's eyes widened with sudden realization. Meets in one of my buildings, yes. Their reasonable membership fees cover their grandchildren's college scholarships. I smiled. I believe your daughter benefits from one. The afternoon sun caught the subtle crown molding I'd had restored in the cafe, real gold leaf, though it looked deceptively simple. Like everything in my world, the true value lay beneath the surface. Your Toyota, Diana said weakly. The one I made fun of at Christmas. Is part of a fleet I'm developing. Sustainable luxury vehicles disguised as everyday cars. I showed her the prototype designs. The technology alone is worth more than your penthouse. My phone lit up with another notification. The papers were ready for Diana's new lease. One that would teach her the true value of humility and respect for all residents, regardless of their apparent status. You have two choices, I said, laying out the documents. Continue living in your penthouse under new terms, including mandatory participation in our community support programs, or find another building. I paused. Though you should know I own most of those too. Through the cafe windows, the Manhattan skyline stretched out before us. A concrete kingdom I'd built while playing the role of the unsuccessful sister. Each building held stories of people like Diana, who never thought to look beyond appearances. The coffee you laughed at me for bringing to family dinners? I added, gathering my things. From farms I support in South America. The cheap chocolate? From my sustainable cocoa collective in Ghana. Even this cafe's simple tea? Grown in gardens I restored in Sri Lanka. Standing, I straightened my white shirt, handcrafted by artisans I'd helped escape exploitation in the fashion industry. Your new lease terms start next month. I suggest you and Stephen take time to consider your priorities. Diana sat stunned, surrounded by the evidence of her misjudgments. Through the window, her building rose against the sky, no longer a symbol of her success, but a reminder of how appearances can deceive. Oh, and Diana? I paused at the door. That limited budget you were so worried about? Just bought 3 more blocks in Manhattan. The simple life suits me just fine. The afternoon sun painted long shadows across Madison Avenue as I left the café, nodding to my staff, the hidden army of professionals who helped me build this empire from the shadows of my family's disdain. Sometimes I mused the best revenge isn't living well. It's living simply while secretly owning the building your critics call home.